Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Well, welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio. We hope you've had a really wonderful day, and we're glad that you're going to be with us on this new adventure. We have with us tonight Karen Isailovic, who is the CEO and Creative Director of the Roots Studio in Columbia, Maryland. The mission of Roots Studio is to increase the mental wellness of the community, one individual at a time, through creative practice in the arts. Karen is extremely dedicated to the creative process in every aspect of life. Running a business requires an immense amount of ingenuity, agility, perseverance, and stamina. And for Karen, it's all about the process, ever evolving and innovating. Karen considers Roots Studio her most creative work to date. And her desire is to encourage others to unplug and spend time exploring, dreaming, conjuring curiosity, and to just be, actually to enjoy the moment. Well, welcome, Karen. I am so pleased to have you with us.
Thank you. It was lovely to receive an invitation.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. It's just been a pleasure to discover you, so to speak. I was very surprised I also live in Columbia, so I was really very pleased to discover the Roots Studio. So I know Ida usually has the first question, because we always like to know about beginnings. So I'm going to turn it over to Ida at the moment.
Well, welcome, Miss Karen. We are so happy to have you and ready to learn about what Roots is all about.
Wonderful.
So how did you get on this journey?
Initially, I was interested in reaching out to kids, teenagers who are on the fringe, and I wanted to create an environment that was interesting and inviting to offer them community support that they may not otherwise have. A big part of my initial interest was based on my own experience. I am coming up on 19 years living sober. And so I had a big, my early teen years started out with drinking. And so my initial thought was to help kids to possibly intervene with it during their lives where they were making decisions and wanting to influence them in a good way. By surrounding them with artists and other creative people who might have a good influence. There's more. Tell me when to take a break, because I'm.
We want
to hear it.
Yeah. Okay. So shortly after that, I went to a lecture at the Strathmore on arts in the brain, and they talked about veterans with PTSD. And the impact that the new art therapy program at Walter Reed Hospital had on how beneficial it was to veterans who had been suffering 24/7 from PTSD for years. And the one of the art therapists who helped design that program said she saw over the 4 weeks results that were astounding in what the art therapy did for these soldiers. And so soon after that, because it was titled Arts in the Brain, I started digging further into the science behind creativity in the brain and learned that it reduces cortisol levels, and which is the stress hormone, and that I realized everybody suffers from stress. So then I started thinking more broadly about the larger community and how I could bring creativity to everybody. Not specific art, but just creative practice. That's really what we're about, the process and creative practice for mental wellness Just like you would go to the gym for your body, your health, your physical health, Root Studio is for your mental health.
Wow.
I
That's
love
awesome.
that concept. What a beautiful blend.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome blend.
Yes, it is.
Oh
yes,
my.
it is.
Okay. Oh, so many questions.
I know. I got a lot.
Go right ahead, Ida. Go ahead.
Okay. So when someone comes to your studio, what can they expect?
There's well, to be surprised, first of all. It's a unique location. We've specifically designed the studio spaces to be warm and inviting. We have a lot of values in that we ask everyone to leave judgment at the door. And, it's funny, the first year or two, anyone that walked through the door kept describing it, oh, it feels so safe here. And I never thought of creating specifically a safe space, but over time I've learned that that's one of the feelings that we give people. So, as far as when you first arrive at the studio, you have this really good feeling, like it's just a very welcoming and warm, non-judgmental environment. And then the big surprise is the variety of tools that we have to explore. We have a digital media lab, which has music production software. Anyone who's making music, this Ableton software has every instrument possible, and you can pretty much design any sound you want. I don't know if either of you are familiar with music production.
No, I'm not.
But it's really interesting. I'm a painter, so I never thought I'd be interested in electronic anything, honestly. But the equipment that we have, there's a push where you get to hit keypads, and it's just an amazing experience. But so now I'm interested in that, but that's not going to happen anytime soon because as a startup, it takes a lot of time and effort. So, so then we have our podcast room, which you two should appreciate.
Yes.
The noise reflection is important. So we've treated the walls with noise reflective materials. And then we have a photography studio, and we have a painting warehouse and a group studio for textiles. We have a small library with art books and still life items, so people can come and pull items off the shelf and arrange them into something that's inspiring. And and then we have a writer's room. But honestly, the studio concept is really to inspire community and interactions between people. And we are, for the general public, that's the passion, is to get the general public picking up creative practice. Mm-hmm. Now, we also serve artists naturally. So there's a lot of artists in there who are beginning to make connections, like a networking. If you're a writer and you need an artist to illustrate a book, there's opportunities to cross-collaborate on different projects.
Oh, nice.
This is awesome.
Very nice. I can't wait to visit.
I can't wait for you to come.
Yes, we would love to come visit and see all of this in motion.
Yes, and we probably want our audience to see all of this in motion.
Yes, and definitely.
This is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's really huge.
So it's 5,700 square feet. It's a big space.
Wow.
Yeah, and part of that, when I initially was looking for space, which was around 2015, I was looking at 2,000 and 3,000 square foot spaces, and I knew I wanted it to be kind of off the beaten path, going back to attracting those kids who are looking for a space that you need to know about. It's not like on Main Street, but just trying to pique their interest into music. We also have an open mic, which I can tell you about. But so I was looking at spaces at 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, and the minute I walked through this space, which was much larger than I had anticipated or intended to lease, it just felt right. It was the perfect fit. It was already laid out structurally. The only alteration that I made was cutting a wall in half in the kitchen to have like a tea coffee bar. Mm-hmm. But all the areas had immediate, I identified each room for the purpose that it would serve. Mm-hmm. And another, mentioning the tea coffee bar, one of our studio rules is we are an alcohol-free venue. So we have social, creative socials for the community, and we run an open mic the second Friday of every month, and they are alcohol-free. Mm-hmm. And surprisingly, delightfully, we are getting a lot of interest. We've been running the open mic for 18 months or a little bit more. And, traditionally open mics, the performers are kind of the sideshow. Like usually people come to a restaurant or a bar and they're interested in, food and drinks and good times with their friends, which serves a purpose. But our open mic is unique in our audience is sitting quietly. And it's truly like a small venue. We call it open mic, but the performers get the experience of actually performing live. And the audience is they are dedicated listeners. So it makes a very unique and special experience for both the artist and the audience. They are experiencing local talent. And that's been the most surprising, wonderful surprise is there's so much local talent in Columbia and the surrounding areas that it just blows my mind, honestly. Like I had hoped to have, little discoveries here and there, but the talent that comes through, it's amazing. And many people who may not otherwise have the opportunity to perform, they actually get this opportunity where it may be kind of a side interest for them, but as an artist, to be able to share your work is very important. So I'm really happy that we get to provide that platform.
Wow, I'm loving this. This is definitely a unique program, and I can't wait to come. And I know my son is an artist.
Okay.
So he would really love this space. Yeah. He would really, wow. I'm just blown away.
Yeah.
There's so much to it, and because you said that you want the community to come into it, how do people come into your organization, come to the roots?
Yeah, so there's a couple of causes. So one is mental wellness, and the other is a for-profit business model for arts organizations. And that might have to be a whole nother podcast because that's a whole deeper level on the bigger picture here.
Mm-hmm. We are ready.
If we get time, great. But how do people get involved? This is privately owned. I'm the owner, and I've been funding this project from the get-go, which is it's naturally a huge undertaking and stress. And getting the word out, marketing this, it's a fairly new and unique concept, has been very challenging. So people can get involved in various ways. We have workshops, and those are geared at a beginner level just to be able to give people different experiences on feeling different genres out. So we would have a quick start to Ableton Live, some basic painting. We've done write your own story workshops. So it's really a broad range of workshop opportunities. And then the other way is just by getting a creator pass. So that works. You just buy a block of time, a block of hours, and you can come and go as you please. It's like checking in and out with a gym card. And then they don't expire. So it's, that's where you're wanting to experiment with the different studio spaces. Some people have actually come in and just used it as a co-working space. They come, they want a quiet spot and sort of out of the way from the general public. And I'm a very quiet person, and I'm an introvert, so I need my rejuvenation space, and that has become what Root is to many people. They come in and it's just a time to breathe and be. That's, I am always like, just be. It's really about living in the moment and appreciating every moment. Every day is a gift. And so the creator pass is what I was just referring to. That's just straight up, you buy the hours. But what I really love is we're all about the people. As I've said, we're about community. And what's special is the relationships that we're building with the community. We foster independent learning, but the artists are mentors. So everybody learns at a different pace and a different style. So we really are in tune with the different individuals' needs are. I'm a visual learner, so I struggled through school. I was not, I needed much more visual aids. And back then they did not have what they have today as far as with technology. And
yeah.
So
like back then it was like one shoe fit all. So
exactly. So the mentor-mentee relationship is a big part of, what we offer. And that's through guided studio practice. It's open studio, but guided with a mentor. So you can ask questions or ask for feedback or critique or help troubleshoot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So we have this wonderful space. Many people don't know about it. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Fabulous space with so much to do. And I noticed in some of the information that you sent us that you are aligned with the National Institute of Mental Health. Is that it?
NAMI,
yes.
Uh-huh.
In just the world that we live in, mental health has become a really big issue.
Mm-hmm.
You also mentioned, if you don't mind me mentioning it again, that you have recovery from alcoholism.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So my question is, when did you realize that all of this was leading you somewhere? Because recovery is really major. It changes lives. And now you have this is a phenomenon.
Yeah.
The Roots Studio is a phenomenon. It really is. And it blends so many things together. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and if you were always an artist, or is that something you discovered along the way?
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I'm so glad you a phenomena. I've never heard that about Root, but I love it. And, the mission is so complex, and I'm the worst marketing person because I love to tell every nook and cranny about it all. So being on a podcast, thank you for the invitation, because you're giving me the opportunity to share some of the philosophy. Mm-hmm. So I was not always an artist. I didn't start painting until I was 31, something like that. My mom and her two sisters had always said that I was an artist, and I think that living up to that title, it was just an intimidating description. And so it was almost like that fear of failure. And that's part of what I want to kind of drill out of the kids and the adults. We all have this fear of failure. But, not that mistakes are encouraged, but we learn through our mistakes. And one of my big passions with the kids, and you mentioned the mental illness and substance abuse. When I first started, the county executive at the time was Alan Kittleman, and his initiatives were opioids, suicide, mental health, behavioral, and the aging population, which are still all of my initiatives of the population groups I want to help. But so I didn't start painting until I was 30. And really discovered, it was the first time in my life that I found myself doing it just for me. And by that time I had 2 young daughters, and this was sort of my break from the challenging job of being a mother. And so it became this, immediately I fell in love with color. Most of my work, you'll see, is very bright. I use a full palette. But eventually, so that was early in sobriety, and that eventually had a big impact on learning to be present and not getting caught up in my mind worrying about the future. Or I've never really been one to have regrets, because I have such a strong belief that everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. But tying it into, I mentioned in some of the notes I sent you about values, the kids in our area, I always refer to the kids, but this is really, I feel passionate about all ages, because we all suffer from similar things in one form or another. But kids in our area I've witnessed the suicide rates, the opioid overdoses, and I don't like to generalize, but I have to sometimes to make a point. Mm-hmm. They are, that's a sign of hopelessness. And so when it comes to recovery or living sober, addressing depression, Root Studio is about preventative wellness. Mm-hmm. And as I said, like interjecting in a child's life before it goes too far they go down a certain path. Mm-hmm. But there's one thing as an alcoholic, if it's in your genes, it's in your genes. And no matter who intervenes in your life, there may not be hope, However, I do feel that if community, kids in the community have support, they may need an adult mentor or someone who might make an impression on them that will get them to pause and think, whether they outwardly share that, oh yeah, I get that, or they may internalize, which kids often do. They're internalizing these little subtle cues. Mm-hmm. And so my hope, with artists and creatives and music, everyone identifies through the arts and culture and music, and getting people attracted to having a new experience, maybe that, Root is a place to have opportunities in community that, especially the young kids, do not have as many opportunities today as they did decades ago. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's a long-winded answer. I'm not sure if I covered it all.
That's okay. It was kind of a long-winded question, but yes, you've covered it pretty well. I think you're absolutely right. We have a whole group of people, not just young people, like you said. We run the gamut, and being creative does something for us actually spiritually. Mm-hmm. It grounds us. It gives us an opening, something that beyond where we are right now. If we're hurting, if we're worried, if we're whatever, once you tap into that creative thing that you like doing, or maybe you don't know anything about it, like you're talking about the electronic music, nothing about it. But once you go and you try it, one of the things I've always noticed about creativity is that at some point you start smiling and you catch yourself smiling. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm smiling. I'm actually smiling. And that in itself is such a wonderful feeling. And that's what the creative arts do. You don't have to be fabulous at them. You don't have to be world renowned. That's not the idea about creativity. And that's why I like the title of your organization. It's the Roots Studio Wellness Center. It's all of that. It's about saying, we're all creative beings. We're all creative beings. Mm-hmm. And we often are told you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Once you discover that, once you can help someone else discover their creativity, and you see them start to smile, start to loosen up, start to look forward to coming into your center and saying, oh, well, I did that last time. I want to try this. And then you find them really grab hold of something. That has to be an amazing feeling.
Oh,
It is. It is. And
oh,
that's
Amazing feeling, just joyful.
it keeps me going every day, 70 hours a week,
70 hours a week. Yes, I know you're always saying you're busy no matter what.
Yeah. And it's a labor of love, no question. And to address that about the smiles, what's been really magical is the Howard County Autism Society.
Oh.
So we've had a couple of their children come through, young adults, and youth in transition, so they're late teens. These two stories I'm thinking of, but one of them with the kids on the spectrum, they came through and we have this paint throwing wall, and we literally have this big canvas on the wall, and you just get to take a brush and throw it. There's a selection of paint buckets with all kinds of colors, and these kids would come through the door not making eye contact, looking down, serious. If their mom or their assistant was with them, they would be doing all the talking. But on their way out after painting for 20 minutes, flinging paint at the wall, they were smiling, shaking my hand. Thank you for being here. And, it was amazing.
Wonderful. Oh, you adults can't wait to do that.
Exactly. Well, I'll share another story. I had a group of executives. They, a lot of our work is founded on mindfulness. So we're merging creativity and mindfulness because of the cortisol levels, and as I shared, stress reduction is the goal. And that's like the blanket umbrella description. Like there's so many benefits beyond that. But anyhow, this group of executives, I had emailed them this menu of the different programs based on with different themes around wellness and mindfulness and team bridging, and they were like, no, we just want to throw paint. That's all we want to do. I was like, okay, we can do that.
I imagine they came out giggling. I know they started giggling while they were doing it.
Yeah.
The release has been phenomenal.
Yeah. And it's really about, like, in creative practice, you're letting go. It's learning to let go and be okay with that. A friend of mine described my mission. Sometimes I feel like, it's such an uphill battle. And she was like, well, Karen, if worst case, you're failing forward. And I was like, that is beautifully put. Failing forward. I like that.
Oh, wow.
Because I do feel like, it is a struggle. I have to say that we're running a GoFundMe campaign. It's not sustainable. It's been very challenging for many reasons. It's been an evolution over the 2.5 years, and figuring out what works, figuring out the language for marketing. That's been very challenging. People often will just naturally they pigeonhole us into a studio. We're an art studio, and I tell them I tell everybody, I said, we do not do traditional learning and teaching here. If they want to master any skill to become artistic, I send them to Columbia Art Center, Howard County Center for the Arts, Montpelier. There's so many other art resources, and that's why I really look to collaborate with the other local businesses, because we complement one another. And the other kind of offering we bring to the community is those who may not believe in counseling or getting help, but sometimes the arts has a way of opening us up to some deeper feelings. And not that I've seen anyone triggered in my studio, but my hope is that if they start getting close to some vulnerable information, that they could possibly seek help. So
Absolutely. And
That's awesome.
it's a great way to help to support the mental health awareness of people. It's a great way. We talk to a lot of people that, you know, they it's an uphill battle with that. There's many organizations out there that are working within their realms to get rid of this dilemma, but nobody has come close to being as creative as you are.
Aw. Thank
I'm
you.
already loving it. I mean, just being able to throw paint on the wall.
I love that. I just absolutely love it. I can't imagine anyone turning that down.
No, I'm
a little bit. Yes, it's like, okay, just lead me to the buckets.
You can be my guest. I'll give you a paintbrush.
Oh, great. So, how do people get in contact with you?
So we have, on our website, we have a contact form, so you can reach us via email. I'm Karen at therootstudio.org. Our website is therootstudio.org. And then we're also all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay, I have to look you up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Because I'm like, all I can see is myself throwing paint on the wall. That's the experience I want.
Well, that's what, especially, often for those of us who do paint at home or try different creative projects, either we're breaking apart our living room to do it, or if you're a child, your parent might be concerned about the walls, and not make a mess. So one of the not stipulations, but I wanted a place that was mess friendly in a nutshell, like not to be stressed about the wall covering or the floor, because, the creative process is it's the less restriction, the better. You get into that free flow, and that's a whole other part of your brain that different neurons are firing, and it's just good for you. And a lot of people come through, I'm not an artist, I can't draw a stick figure, and I'm not creative. And like you said, everybody is creative. And, and that's why a lot of, we talk about this being a wellness issue. Aside from the stress reduction, it teaches you critical thinking skills, self-motivation, independent learning. And a lot of us, the way society's evolved, it's, it's put many of us in a follower, I can't help but refer to the younger generations. They're wanting to follow the right path. Like, what is the right path? And then which in turn diminishes their faith and trust in themselves. Mm-hmm. So we're about building people up, their self-confidence, their trust, and giving them the pass that this isn't about being perfect.
Right.
There you go.
There's no such thing. I always tell people, abolish perfect from your vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's no such thing. It's excellence, which is something that you can measure, but you can't measure perfection.
Right.
You just can't. How do you put measurement to that?
Yeah, doing your best is the best you can do.
Exactly. Whatever that looks like.
Right, whatever that looks like. Exactly. And I love the fact that you're talking about, too, something that I'm very passionate about. The fact that so often we put people in a box. As soon as children are born, 2 seconds after they're born, they're put into a box and they're given instructions. And some of those instructions, they're well-meaning, parents,
right.
Well-meaning, but it takes that newborn individual human, and they proceed to take that person away from themselves. And sometimes it takes years before they ever come back, if they ever do. And yet, like you said, your mother and aunts were telling you that you were an artist, and you were like, no, I'm not. But later on, you found out that actually you are. That's who you are. And that's what I think is so important, to give people back to themselves. Give them back to themselves. Say, go find out. Come to the wellness center and, and find out who you are. Play in paint, play, electronics, do something, write your story, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But find out who you are, reconnect to yourself.
Yes.
Because that person is alive and well. But most of us have totally abandoned that person.
Absolutely.
We go off and we become doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs, and we don't want any of it. We don't want it, but we're doing it because that's what we were told to do.
Right. Well, I love hearing, a lot of people our age are not as open, and you both are obviously clearly open, and I love that. We need leaders like you. Our all generations need open-minded people, and I love that. You hit on grounding. You were saying roots, and the name Root Studio was exactly for that reason. It was grounding, giving people a sense of security, but also their own roots, growing their own roots. And our logo, I sketched this spiral with the 3 leaves inside, and that symbolizes inner growth. And my firm belief is the healthier the individual, it's a trickle up across the board.
Yes, it is.
Economy, system, structural, world. I mean, it's the healthier the individual is. Mm-hmm. And so self-care, which, the wellness industry has taken off in the past decade. And I feel like as a creative wellness center, we're offering a new business model to that. But I think self-care is important. And getting back to opening in Howard County, it's often where a nonprofit will go into the inner city, and naturally there's a lot of needs in some underserved communities without resources. And because this business model was such a gamble, I thought if it were to survive anywhere, it would be in Howard County, because we are a wealthy county. But after consideration, I was thinking more about the kids, because it really was tearing me up. The loneliness statistics, the kids are up there with the elderly, the suicide rates, the addiction, overdose. That's, as I've been analyzing what is wrong, it always goes back to the individual, whether it's the parent needing more personal development and self-care, or the child, or both. Mm-hmm. And anyhow, back to Howard County, I feel these children, there's a lot that they're suffering in silence because the material means are there. And so it's easy to mask any challenges that are going on. Mm-hmm. Yes. And the pressure, of course, is there in our school systems for the, not in the school systems, but in general, these kids are pushed.
Yes.
And so I wanted to, these kids, one last comment on that. The kids in the inner city or less privileged communities, they have a sense of gratitude. They know the value of $1 because when they get a meal, they're grateful. Mm-hmm. So I felt like a lot of those basic values are being missed when there's more affluent areas. Mm-hmm. And it's nobody's fault. There's definitely is not a blame game. Mm-hmm. It's just I'm trying to introduce a perspective that, taking time and pausing and thinking about things, taking time to think about things, period, and not rush through and try to meet the goals and achieve. I think that has taken a toll on mental health, and that's part of my drive.
Yes.
That's awesome. I really am so glad that I met you through the internet, and because this is valuable information. This is information I'm hoping that our listening audience will run with it and say, oh, well, if they're not in this area, to maybe look into their own area, find resources like this. Mm-hmm. If they have the ability to create a resource like this, and to use you, like you said, as a model. This is a phenomenal arrangement. This is so powerful.
Very, very unique. very
Yes,
unique.
it's wonderful. And I'm just really glad to have met you. I can't wait to come to
I know.
Yeah, we're both coming. I'm
Yes,
definitely
we're
coming.
gonna go throw
I gotta
paint at
throw
the wall.
paint on
Yeah,
the
wear some
electronic
friendly
music.
clothes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, yeah, clothes that we can throw away because I'm
You
sure
know,
I'll be a mess.
I have
Even when I try to paint, I'm always a mess anyway. So
yeah.
no better than to wear anything halfway decent.
Now,
Oh,
I heard you mention mentors. So how do you get your mentors?
So right now, I actually recently I'm establishing a partner with Notre Dame of Maryland University, and it's not in writing yet, but we have a verbal agreement, so we're working out the paperwork. But I pitched an idea about partnering up in some way. Notre Dame is the first university in Maryland to offer an art therapy program. For the past, I don't know, 20 years or so, GW, George Washington University in DC, was the only area place you could get a master's of art therapy. So Root Studio Mentors, we are not art therapists. We do what I call therapeutic arts, which still have healing benefits. And but I wanted to, because again, we're like the petri dish. A lot of this is, kind of pioneering. But the concept is to incorporate those students who are in practice and need some experience.
Oh, okay.
In the studio with people. And then, of course, there's the art university. There's MICA, UMBC, Howard Community College, and pulling students, either recent graduates or close to graduating with art degrees, whether it's photography, film, studio art, textiles, fashion. We have so many people that have mentioned all of these things. The interest is there. Again, it's just a matter of getting the word out in volume.
Okay, but we're going to definitely put this out because we love what you're doing. We think it's just highly valuable, because, I know how I feel when I'm sitting there doing some type of creative thing that I'm doing. I'm feeling really good, and I'm in that moment. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just thinking about what I'm currently doing. And I think most of my creativity goes into cooking. I like to cook.
That's awesome.
And when I'm cooking, I've got the music blasting and just having a ball, just creating a meal.
Absolutely. My daughter, who's 17, is a great cook and baker, and it's very creative.
Yes. And my husband, I always try to tell him, he's like, oh, I got to cook. No, you need to look at it as art.
Absolutely.
If you start to look at it as art, then it takes on a whole new meaning.
Isn't it amazing that just small shift of perspective makes such a difference?
A huge difference. A huge difference. Yes, we got to eat. Yes, we got to cook. But if you make it fun, then it just changes the whole atmosphere around it.
It becomes something very pleasurable to do and satisfying. When it's all done, you stand back and you say, oh, look what I did.
Yeah.
Everybody is, this is good, hon.
There's nothing like sitting down to a table where there's lots of appreciation.
Yes,
so
exactly.
There's so many ways to be creative. And I think that's what you've brought to people tonight is that creativity, we are all creative, that there's a way of discovering your creativity, that it's going to lead to wellness. It's going to be good for your mental health. It's going to be good for your physical health because you're going to reduce the stress, reduce the cortisol levels, which are just rampant right now for most people. So much can happen at your wellness center, the Root Studio Wellness Center in Columbia, Maryland. I'm giving you some press here.
Thank you.
Under the direction of Karen Isailovic.
Correct.
And it's just been such a pleasure. I'm looking forward to having you on the podcast again and come and do some live work with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, because I think people
that's a promise.
Yes. They need to see the center in action,
Yes, they need to
and
see
see what's
everything in
really
it.
there. I'm going to ask you one more time to give your information, how people can contact you. And before you say anything, I want to remind people that the Roots Studio Wellness Center does have a GoFundMe
Oh,
account.
yes, and
So
we need to have
please
that information.
go there, and if you can, do what you can. So if you would give us your information one more time.
Thank you, Ruth. Yes, so our website is therootstudio.org. You can email Karen, Karen, at therootstudio.org. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at Root Studio Columbia is our address. And then our phone number is 410-824-8044.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. I'm looking forward to more conversations with you.
I am too. I'm just loving this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even expect this. This is like, oh my God.
Yay!
Bigger than what I thought.
Well, I don't know if I told you about our open mic, but it's the second Friday of every month. So tomorrow is Thursday. So it's in 2 days. And we have a special guest coming up from Florida, two artists. They travel the world, but they outfitted a school bus into a studio on wheels. And they're traveling up to Canada and down to Argentina, bringing art to underserved populations.
Wow, you need to make sure you give them our information. We would love to interview them.
Yes.
Well, they're only here, I think they're here Friday through Sunday.
That's okay. You see how we doing it, so
yeah,
they do it the same way.
Right. Oh, and that's going to be awesome.
I mean, if you guys wanted to see the studio in full community mode, Friday night is definitely the night to see it. We do like party lights. We have, cheese and grapes and crackers, and it's a 3-hour, 7 to 10. And then we have the public. There's usually 20 performers.
Oh, okay.
They each get 8 minutes. And then we have a featured guest that each month. So we alternate a writer, because it's spoken word and music, a writer and acoustic. And I wanted to have both audience supporting one another again to reemphasize everyone should support everyone.
Okay.
That's right.
Well.
That's right. Oh,
so
wow.
the second Friday of every month.
Yes.
From 7 to 10.
Correct.
Okay.
And the one of the local businesses who won the Horizon Challenge, Changemaker Challenge last year, her name is Beth Harbinson. She's our bartender. She concocted non-alcoholic beverages, and her slogan is "Party with a Purpose," but again, to support the non-drinking community.
Mm-hmm. Oh, lovely.
So it's like mixed drinks, and they're really healthy for you.
Right. A healthy drink.
Exactly.
Wonderful. I just love the concept from beginning to end. It is so well thought out.
Yeah.
And such a blessing to the community. I know that you're going to be richly rewarded for the work that you do.
Oh, absolutely.
This is, like I said, it's a phenomenon. It really is.
A solution.
Yes, it's a solution. Mm-hmm.
It's a solution, that's for sure.
You guys, you're making me so happy. You get it. You get it.
Yeah, we get it very well.
Very well. Very well. Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
much love.
Thank you. I can't wait to meet you in person, and it's so hard for me not to ask you all the questions because I love people. I know you were gracious to have me to get some exposure for Root and learn about my mission, but I really look forward to hearing more about Ascend, and what a fabulous concept.
Yes, we will definitely, we've got a whole lot of good stuff to share with you to support what you're doing. So we look forward to the relationship that's getting ready to happen.
Yay, thank you.
Yes.
Definitely on our spectrum.
Oh yeah.
Great organization.
We're passionate about health, mental health. Always take care of the neck up.
That's right.
to do. You know what I mean? It's like this, you go to the doctors for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to your mental wellness, it's like hush, hush. And, I'm
A lot
not.
of stigma.
Yes. And
It is
we
a
got
lot
to
of
get
stigma.
rid of it. We definitely have to get rid of it. And what you're doing is definitely a great solution for sure.
Thank you. We're trying.
Yes. So thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you. Have a good evening, and I really, really do. Please come out, and I'll show you how to do some paint throwing.
Okay. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Word on the street says there's something new at Just Minding My Business Media. You've heard our podcast, Just Minding My Business Radio, that brings news and views you can use. That airs every Thursday at 6 p.m. on iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and Spreaker. Well, now you can watch Just Minding My Business. That's right, Just Minding My Business Media now has a TV presence on Raven International TV Network, broadcast on Roku, Fire, and Apple TV. Your business, through Just Minding My Business Media, has exposure on internet radio, major social media platforms, and now TV, through Just Minding My Business dynamic digital marketing platform. Don't listen to the word on the street. Hear it for yourself. Visit jmmb.assistercircle.org to learn how you can take your business, your vision, to the next level. Thank you to the amazing women of A Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, and our media partners. Let Just Minding My Business Media promote your business. For information, visit us at jmmb.assistercircle.org. That's jmmb.assistercircle.org. Voiceovers by RCH VoiceWorks, for when you want to be heard. Call 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.